Hello again, it's 2Scoops here with Sonic Academy for part one of how I make my music. So basically in this segment, we're going to be covering how I start by making drum beats. So first off, I'm going to set the tempo to 128, which is the tempo of the song we're going over today. Then I personally like to use drum racks, so I'm going to pull in a drum rack right now. Of course, making music, there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's all subjective to the creator, but personally, I like doing my music a certain way, and if you like it too, then you can kind of pick up from what I do. Just drag in the drum rack, and so next we're gonna load up an instance of Kick 2, just a great kick plugin from Sonic Academy. Yeah. Personally, I really like a lot of the presets in here. For this song in particular, I was really feeling this Cal 01 preset. It's a bit like this. The right note. So pull up a MIDI clip. Next, I'm going to drag in my snare, just because I kind of know, from the get-go, I sort of knew the sound I wanted to achieve with this. So I go down to my kit here, my 2Scoops kit. Nice snare 1 is going to go on C sharp 1. Nice snare 2 on D1. Basically, we got our sounds there. All right. So first I'm going to kind of start by making a basic drum beat here with putting the snares on the 3s. So let's see what we got here. Yeah, most trap music generally starts with the snares just on the 3s to have that sort of halftime feel. I mean, you can get kind of creative and place the snares on different notes, but personally, what I find is in most music, it's just on the 3s. So next, I'm going to add a little more of like a rhythmic groove with the other snare. I know a lot of people start by making the kick patterns, but I personally like starting with the snare because I can sort of feel the groove of it from the get-go like that. Trills going on. Cut off a little bit at the end here. I like to put fills at the end of my sections. Right, so next we're going to make a kick pattern by putting one here. Let's see. I like to keep my drum beats pretty simple, just because I like to leave a lot of the complexity to the actual sound design and synth work in the background. And I just kind of like leave the drums to have an impact and keep the groove going. All right, so pretty much have a solid sort of drum vibe down here. So let's see. All right, so now that we have that, I'm going to start kind of building some other potential drum sections. So basically, other rhythmic elements that I could potentially use to swap out for different sections, possibly build sections, verse sections, drops, etc., etc. So this is just kind of a simple drum beat. Could use this for a verse or for the drop or either or. It's all optional. It's all subjective. All right, so I'm going to kind of do like a halftime sort of four on the floor feel, or more so quarter time actually, now that I think about it, just sort of what I'm feeling right now. But sort of like a fill right there, maybe. All right, so I'm going to add some snares here. I'm going to use the nice snare too, which is sort of a lighter trap snare. Just put it on the threes again. Okay, so now we can kind of get how that sounds, just as like a second option in correlation to the first one. I'm just going to make a couple more grooves, and then we'll sort of kind of start finessing a little bit of a structure here. So maybe this one could be like more of like a build feel. Gonna have another one of the little fill things here. So I like to use this this right here in the MIDI um, for basically to cut the MIDI in half. So basically, when you're doing builds and whatnot, you just you can just half time it essentially, or double time it per se, depending on if you're trying to shorten or lengthen it. So let's just put this over a little bit. Cool. So we kind of have a little bit of a build feel right there with everything. So yeah, I mean, I think this is plenty to work with personally to sort of start building almost like a structure or a rough structure for the song. So I'm gonna kind of get on doing that, just moving this around a little bit, so we can kind of get a feel for what we're trying to do here. Okay, so we're kind of starting to see a structure here. So right here would basically sort of resemble almost like an intro verse. Then there's kind of like a breakdown right here to build, then drop, second verse, build, drop, and then outro. Okay, so next I'm going to process the drums. I really like how the snares sound, so I'm not going to really do too much to the snares, but in terms of the kick, it sounds a little bit bass heavy and a little bit too midsy for me, so I'm going to start just by EQing the kick. Pro tip right now, there's a thing called oversampling when you right click on the EQ8, and basically if you enable it, it lets your EQ be higher quality. I don't know exactly the technicalities behind it, but what was explained to me recently by a friend of mine was that when you turn it on, It just lets your EQ have a little more clarity to it. And the only downside is though is if you're running on like kind of a slower machine, the CPU will kind of eventually be driven through the roof if you're using too many of them. So I'm going to start by putting a low shelf and maybe bring it down about 2 decibels at the 200 range. So let's see how that sounds. See that? You can see that hot curve right there. Let's see. All right, so and then just kind of like a low bell right here, the 1000 hertz range. About 2 decibels, negative 2 decibels. And those snares are a little quiet, so I'm going to probably bring them up in the sampler. So let's see. Okay. Yeah, it feels pretty good. Obviously, we won't know until we have more elements in the song, but for now, that's kind of what I'm feeling. So next, we're going to group the drum rack. This is going to come in handy for later reference. I'm just going to label the group drums and do kind of a light processing chain. I sort of like to mix as I go. I'm going to be doing a mixing and mastering section later down the line in these tutorial series, but for now I kind of just like to start by processing the drums a little bit. So in my group settings, I'm going to throw this guy right here, saturator on. Put it up to the drive up to 1.50 decibels, and then put it to soft sine mode. Yeah, keep everything else pretty much the same. I sort of just like keeping it as stock as possible here. And then next I'm going to add just a kind of light compression just to compress it a little bit more. Negative 6 decibels compression, and yeah, let's see how this sounds. Yeah, so it's sounding pretty good and compressed, and not too compressed, still leaving dynamics for it to sort of shine through there. So this concludes the drum segment of my tutorial with Sonic Academy. Next we're going to be covering bass, so stick around. Thanks.